my Kenvians, Papa Ken here, bringing you something very special. For the first time, I'm going to be doing, well, it's going to be a new Discovering series. You already know what it is by the title, Once Upon a Time. Yes, I'm going to be starting that. And she may not have made it clear in the credits just yet, but I just want to say that you have Lena, aka Meleena Official, to thank for me doing this series. This is going to be different than I expected, but again, you have her to thank for this. But these are going to be, I'm going to be reacting to every episode of Once Upon a Time, and at the end of these reactions I will be doing a bit of a mini review, a sort of summarized version of what I would usually do in a Discovering blank TV show review. So yeah, today I'm going to be watching the first episode, just named Pilot. And in case you hear me tapping on some keys here, I'm going to be taking notes again, you know, that way I can just stay on top of things and keep an idea of everything that's going on as it's going along. And yeah, I hope you all really enjoy this. I'm looking forward to getting started, and I know that Lena has been really excited for me to record this first episode to begin with. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it with Once Upon a Time, Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot.
I shall destroy your happiness if it is the last thing I do.
That was cool.
Bondsperson. Really?
I like Emma.
Nothing.
I like her.
Are you Ms Swan?
Yeah, who are you?
My name's Henry. I'm your son.
What?
10 years ago, did you give up a baby for adoption? That was me.
Oh, well.
Give me a minute.
That's a lot of exposition in the span of like 5 seconds.
That's exactly what makes it true. You should know more than anyone.
Why is that?
Because you're in this book.
Oh, kid, you've got problems.
Yep, and you're gonna fix them.
The child is safely and on its 28th birthday.
The child is Emma.
The child will find you. And the final battle will begin.
So Emma is the child of Snow White? There's something very Willem Dafoe about the person playing Rumpelstiltskin. Like something about the facial expressions. Like even before we saw him, just like when we saw the profile, there was something just very Willem Dafoe about him.
Sneaky bastard.
Oh! Is that supposed to be the big bad wolf?
Wake up! Wake up!
I'm just gonna say he's grumpy, because he's my favorite. Oh, jeez.
Sorry to bother you.
The mayor's the evil witch.
It's okay, I fear this is partially my fault. How's the book supposed to help?
And that is Snow White.
What stories are for? These stories? The classics?
Yep, that's definitely the mayor. But does she remember? Prince Charming's dead. Dang. Oh, that's the prince. Yep, I knew it. Granny's bed and breakfast.
Now you're going out again. I should have moved to Boston. I'm sorry that my heart attack interfered with your plans to sneak your way down the eastern seaboard.
Right.
I'd like a room. Really? No. What's the name? Swan. Emma Swan.
Emma. What a lovely name.
Thanks.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Great. Welcome to Storybrooke.
Oh, there you go. Okay, wow. Okay then, that... I'm trying to get all my thoughts gathered. Again, you know, this is a kind of a new thing. That was really good. It was a bit. It was strange, admittedly. But I did write down some of my favorites and annoyances, so let's get right into those. So, some of my favorite aspects, first of all, the way the story is told, honestly. I know that some people are probably kind of sick of the, you know, like or not exactly flashbacks, but like the, like, you know, you're at one point in time, then all of a sudden you're in another, and back and forth. I personally really like that kind of storytelling. And I thought it worked really well here. I really did like it. So that, like, the way the story went along, I thought was very well done. And my second favorite part of this episode was that, especially, and I'll touch on this a little bit more, you'll see, but the way the graphics were done, and, I mean, obviously, especially in fairytale land, just the style of it all. The style of it was really good. I just really enjoyed the style of everything. It was just filled with fantasy. It was very fantastical, I guess you could say. And the graphics really sort of emphasize that, in my opinion. Now, my third favorite part of this episode has to be just Emma. Emma is really awesome as a character, especially at the very beginning. Like, she is just a badass, and I love it. I absolutely love it. There's obviously more to the character that will be developed, or at least I hope will be developed as the show goes on. But, I mean, even in this episode alone, it's like she starts out, you know, kind of one-dimensional. It's like, you know, she's a badass without a family and all this. But then, especially as she comes to be around Henry a bit more, you know, we start to see glimmers of this other side of her. And that wraps up there at the end when, obviously, she decides to stay. And, what was it that Henry said? Give me a week, or stay with me for a week. Or was it stay here for a week? So, something along those lines. So yeah, I really, really liked Emma. My fourth favorite part of this episode was Rumpelstiltskin. My God. I guess / Mr. Gold. If he owns all of that, or like the entire town, then it kind of makes me wonder, is he potentially like the big bad? But even though the evil queen was the one that brought the curse upon them, what if, like, maybe through his own powers, he was able to manipulate that into a way that he used it to his own devices, and so he's the big bad. So I guess in talking about my favorites here, I came up with a theory of sorts, is that maybe Rumpelstiltskin is the actual bad guy here. I don't know, it's hard to say. Of course, I mean, all that could change if they get their memories back. And who knows when that will actually happen. But still, so that's my theory, is that potentially Rumpelstiltskin / Mr. Gold is the actual bad guy here. Okay, now my fifth and final favorite part of this episode has to be Grumpy. Well, actually, no, that's not my final part, but my fifth favorite part is Grumpy, or what did they say his name was at that one point? Leonard? Leroy? Something like that. It started with an L. But it's like just those few moments where he actually appeared. I don't even know if that's actually supposed to be Grumpy, but that's the way I perceived him. Really like that character. And then my sixth and like overall favorite part of this episode is the characters. Like overall, especially the characters that transition from the fantasy world, or the Once Upon a Time world, to the real world. It's, I mean, in the fantasy world, their roles are very clear-cut. Snow White's a good guy, the Prince is a good guy. I still don't know if we ever actually got a name for him. They may have said it and I wasn't paying attention. Evil Queen is a bad guy. Rumpelstiltskin seems to be a bad guy. Or, well, I mean, canonically in his own story he's a bad guy, but who knows exactly in this show. But then in the real world, Snow White, or again, I forget the actual character's name. That's one thing I'm going to have to work on learning, is all that character's actual names. But as the teacher, it's like, you know, she's still definitely plays the role of a good guy, seems to be. And the character who was the evil queen, she's a strict mom, but I mean, nothing that she did, including the way she confronted Emma, I can't perceive that as being a bad guy. Like, she is being very protective of her child. And, I mean, I'm sure different people would act, you know, differently in a similar situation. But I know people that would probably be act in a same way as she did, or as the mayor did. Again, do we even get a name? I can't remember. But yeah, they. In the real world, the former evil queen, she doesn't seem to be really someone evil. She's strict, and I don't know, some would probably define her role as being somewhat of a bitch, but at the same time, I see good in there. I see protectiveness. Whether or not you can infer from what she said that she actually loves the boy, it's hard to say. I mean, especially when you're upset, you're not exactly going to, you know, show softness or kindness toward a person who asks you if you love your child. So it's hard to infer that. Hopefully you'll get more interaction between her and Henry in the future, so like more of the actual relationship can be perceived. But yeah. Okay, so moving on from there, those are my favorite parts of this episode. As for my annoyances, and these are, you could probably say nitpicks or just say I'm wrong, whatever. But my first annoyance is that the kid is, I'm torn between, I can't tell if he's not that good of an actor, which is okay, he's a kid, it's, you know, that happens, or if the kid is just portrayed as being very nonchalant. Like, he doesn't really ever emote it seems. I don't know, that may just be part of his personality, but he does cry occasionally, but other than being kind of sarcastic, he never seems to really get upset or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know how to view that. So again, just based on my initial perception, it was hard to tell whether that's supposed to be how the character is or if it's just bad acting. Again, I'm sure that's probably something that will be further defined as the show goes on, or maybe he'll become a better actor as it goes on. I don't know. But it was definitely good to see him with that big smile at the end. But other than that, yeah, just the character seemed kind of nonchalant and bland in a sense. But again, maybe that's just the way he's supposed to be? I don't know. But my second annoyance with this episode, and I know some people will probably get onto me for this, but it does have to be said. Although I did like how the CGI, the computer graphics, gave everything this very fantastical feel, this very fantasy-like feel, the graphics admittedly did make me feel kind of like I was watching the Star Wars prequels, which, you know, you can, whatever your opinion may be on the Star Wars prequels, the CGI by today's standards aren't that great. Now, this is something I commented on with Doctor Who when I first started it, and some of the CGI wasn't so hot. And I understand that with this being a TV show, especially with this being the pilot, first starting out, they aren't going to have as big of a budget as like some big budget movie. But again, it's not something that I'll harp on all the time, but I feel like some of what they did could have been done a bit better with practical effects as opposed to just like tons of CGI at certain points. Again, just my personal feelings, a small annoyance. Feel free to count it out if you wish. But that's it really as far as annoyances go. I feel like this was a good setup for the rest of the show. It definitely has me interested and intrigued to go forward. So, yeah, kudos to that. I was into the show, so I didn't really think to write this down when it was said, but while not exactly a quote of the episode, the line that comes to mind is from the teacher, aka Snow White, when she's talking to Emma and says something along the lines of, the most important thing a kid can have is hope. Definitely paraphrasing there, but it's like that line right there really stood out to me among all the other lines throughout the rest of this. I'll try and be more on the ball and try and look out for, like, you know, actual lines that could be quotes in the future. But yeah, as it stands, my recollection of that line is definitely the one that stands out the most. And I already gave you all a bit of a theory as to what I think might be going on, that Rumpelstiltskin might be the actual bad guy here. Obviously the name Emma struck a chord with him, so even if he doesn't remember everything that's going on, that might have been sort of a trigger perhaps that unlocked some of his repressed by curse memories, perhaps. Part of me feels like that might be the case. But at the same time, again, although I don't feel like I can fault the mayor / evil queen for the way she was acting in the real world, there was something about the way she was looking at the mirror and holding the book that made me question, and I guess this could be my question of the episode: does she remember anything? And really, do any of the characters remember anything? Is it sort of a repressed memory kind of thing where, like, shadows of memories are there? Because when she looked at Emma, there was definitely, like, you know, she smiled, and there was this sign of recognition, of knowing who this person is. but at the same time, it's like, she obviously still doesn't know, like, that Emma is her child. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued as to how all of that's going to work out. So that's my question. Not only just the Queen, but does anybody have any actual recollection of their past lives in the Once Upon a Time world? Yeah, that's definitely my question, and that's probably a question that will be answered going forward. So obviously, if that's a you know, something that's going to be revealed coming up, don't tell me in the comments. But just for me personally, that is the question of the episode. Trying to think if there's anything else I was thinking of. No, I think that's it. I hope you all really enjoyed this reaction video and the sort of mini review afterward. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to give my overall thoughts on the episode. I overall really did like it. It's, I mean, I had some issues with some superficial things like the graphics and all that, but at the same time, while I had issues with those, they kind of worked in a way. I don't know. But, yeah, I feel like this was a good pilot episode. It set up what looks to be a very interesting plot, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm looking forward to finding out when they get their memories back, and when they get their memories back, what happens. Will they continue to live in the real world, or will they go to back to the fantasy land, or will, like, the curse be reversed? I don't know. That's just all kinds of questions that it brings up that I'll have to wait and find out, I suppose. But again, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. Hope you liked the little the little review here at the end. It's going to be a work in progress. I'll try and solidify things more as I go along, but, you know, it's something new to try out, and I hope you all do enjoy it. But I will see you all next time for the next Discovering Once Upon a Time for the episode The Thing You Love Most. And actually, let's take a quick look at the description for that episode. Come on, computer. Come on. There we go. Regina tries to push Emma out of Storybrooke. Regina! That's the name of the mayor. Okay. Tries to push Emma out of Storybrooke and Henry's life. Meanwhile, information about the evil queen's curse comes to light. Ooh. Does it come to light for Emma, or does it come to light for someone else? I suppose we'll just have to wait and find out. Again, until next time, everyone, I'm Papa Ken, and later days.